Many people say that they want to write a book, yet 9 out of every 10 people who start writing a book never finish it, leaving one of their biggest dreams unfulfilled. So, what is it about the 1 in 10 people who do finish writing their book? What do they have, and what drives them to complete their books, their plays, and their songs? Welcome to the Editor's Desk, where we explore their writing experiences, their motivations, and their struggles. And now, here are your hosts, author, writing coach, and self-publishing guide, Lynn Everard, and author, Louise Gomez.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Editor's Desk. Lynn, are you there? Hi.
I am here, and if you can hear me,
Yes, we do.
yes, it is Thursday at 5:30 Eastern, and no, I'm not going to do a weather forecast. If you look outside, or if you walk outside and get soaked, you don't need to know anything more. And by the way, my name is Lynn Everard.
Thanks for joining us remotely today, Lynn. I appreciate that. It's great to see you. So we have such an exciting author today. You know, we both just finished the book, and not only did I love the theme, Charlie Takes an Adventure to the Moon, but I also loved the artwork and the caricatures. So we have Haley Marguerite, and we're going to introduce her in a minute. Did you have anything you wanted to chime in before we introduce Haley?
Yeah, I think the book is just fun, but it's and you think of it as a children's book, but it was a fun read for an adult as well. And I love the humanization of the animals. I think that's a fun aspect of things, and it makes sense that on a rainy day, although it's not cold, that we would have
I guess he cut out. So that I guess
a
he's saying
story.
you cut out for a minute. I think I'll finish your thought. I think he was talking about the penguins. So Haley, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming. We appreciate you joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it as well.
Of course. And I truly enjoyed the book. And I know it's a series. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, there's 4 books in the series, or the Charlie Takes Adventure book series.
Nice. So what inspired you when did you write the book, and what inspired you to create this amazing book?
Sure, that's such a great question. So I wrote my first book, Charlie Takes Adventure, when I was just 11 years old in the 6th grade, part of a class project.
Nice.
Thank you. And so it sat on my bookshelf, collected dust for, oh my gosh, like forever.
So you actually published it in 6th grade. Did you have somebody guiding you through that whole process?
Sure. I mean, at the time, my dad was the illustrator, and
Nice.
we got it published. It was like a 6th grade format. The front cover was kind of like 6 drawings. And then 13 years later, I hired an actual illustrator. But he was actually just right out of high school, believe it or not.
Wow.
Right in Miami.
Nice. So the illustrations I saw in Charlie Takes an Adventure to the Moon, those were spectacular. Those
Thank
were
you.
done by, I forgot her name, but I read it in the book.
Elliot Donovitz.
Yes. She did a really great job.
Thank you. Thanks. Very talented.
Talented, and it really kept me engaged because the colors, right? Like so colorful and
Absolutely, yeah. I think the whole book, or even the series, is very. It has a lot of awe-inspiring moments and images. So I feel that even if you're maybe just outgrown this series, it's great for a coffee table book. The Moon, New York, or any of the other books in this series. You can say, "Oh my gosh, it looks great on the coffee table," and then you pick it up as you're have friends over, and it's a really nice conversational piece.
it is. So now, why bullying? I'm curious. Like, why? What struck a chord with you for you to want to write about that? I'm just interested to know.
So bullying for me is something that really hits home. And so when I was, oh my gosh, like elementary school, I would have this really dorky rolling backpack and people would kick it, and call me names. And all the way up until about high school, I would get bullied. But middle school was just really awful. You know how middle school girls can be, especially. And so I would have my lunch in like a brown paper bag, and on the toilet, I would just eat my lunch every day. And so when I remembered that, it was just very traumatic. So years later, I decided I want to somehow help other kids, other boys and girls that are maybe going through the same situation or scenario.
So did you speak up about it, or was there any support back when you were a kid in middle school, or did you like reach out or not?
Sure. I don't really feel that I had the voice to, speak up. I didn't really have the confidence at that time to say, hold up, that's not really nice of what you're saying. Hold up, or that's not really nice for you to say that, or you're not my friend. But then as you get older, you kind of learn throughout life, wisdom that you don't really need people like that in your corner. They're not really rooting for you. They're just kind of rooting against you. And so even with publishing my book and becoming a publisher, that you're always going to have the naysayers in life.
Oh, yeah. Now, Lynn, I know you want to chime in because you wrote a book about speaking your truth. And I guess she's alluding to, in a way, speaking your truth about, if you're being bullied, she said she didn't have the experience or the wisdom to know to do that. What do you want to chime in and share with people? Because bullying can happen at any age, right? Young, even to adulthood.
Absolutely.
Right.
Any naysayer can turn out to be a bully.
Right.
In terms of, because what does a bully do? They're really trying to crush your dreams, but they don't even know what your dreams are half the time. But as we get older, we start to understand that the bullies are actually the most afraid people you'd ever want to meet.
Yeah.
Right? Because they've got a secret that they're afraid someone else is going to find out about. And the minute you, as a person who's been victimized by bullies, begin to understand your truth and begin to speak your truth, that is a very powerful comeback, right? That will impact them, because all of their power over you up to that point was to shut you down from speaking your truth. And now all of a sudden you start to speak it, and it's almost like they feel their own power going away, because their power's not real. Their power is what they're stealing from you. They're stealing your energy and then trying to use it against you.
That's a good point. I think you said fear or afraid, and that's kind of what I said to you before we came onto the show. I was saying they're expressing fear because they rather be, let me make fun of somebody before someone makes fun of me, right?
100%. So true. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I know you have evolved this into a program, and that's so exciting. I feel
Thank
it's
you.
so necessary in the school system now more than ever. Can you share a little bit more about what does this look like and more information about that?
Sure. Thank you so much. So when I first started out about almost 8 years ago, I had just one book and that was it. But now we've kind of had a little bit more than that. And so now, in addition to the books, we have a box. So in the box, we'll include one book. It's a hardcover book. You get the instructions to plan out the program. So we have about 17 programs that I've created and designed.
Wow.
So
Nice.
a teacher or a principal will say, okay, let's do the sunflower program. So the sunflower program is, in essence, you're planting sunflowers for peace and for autism. And so they get an overview of what is autism. You teach the kids on that. And then at the end of the program, I don't know if I mentioned to you before, but I own space and rocket ship. So at the end of the program, they can put their group photo or an individual photo of the sunflower pot on the moon. So it's just
Okay,
another.
she's got to backtrack a little. Hold on. She owns real estate on the moon. Okay, interesting.
That's
I've
correct,
never
yeah.
met anybody who had that. So can Can you please give us some context on that?
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure. So, Meta, so it's virtual on the moon. And so I wanted something that people of all different ages would say, wow, this is so cool. We'll, be a part of this program, because not just in Florida, but all across the country, a lot of the governors now are proposing a required anti-bullying program. And if you want something that's different and to stand out and be very unique outside the box, you have to do something different that no one's done before. And so a colleague of mine, we work very close together. He co-owned an aerospace testing company, a third party.
Wow.
And so NASA owed my friend a favor, and he ended up reaching out to NASA to see if we can own space in these 3 rocket ships.
Wow.
Not something you hear every day.
Not something I've ever heard,
Right.
actually.
And so
Fascinating.
thank you. So we own the space in the rocket ships. And so, like, if we were to take a selfie after this, we can have our photo on the next shuttle that's going up, which is the SpaceX Falcon Heavy. So the Elon Musk rocket.
Right.
And so in your email within 30 seconds to a minute, and depending on Wi-Fi, and if you're in the Wi-Fi area at the time, you would get a PDF file of your certificate going to the moon.
Wow.
And then you print it out, frame it for the kids. So they're like, oh my gosh.
Talk about a unique marketing strategy. What would you call that, Lynn? That is the most unique.
You know what that's
I don't want to say
back
gimmick,
for-
but amazing.
Yeah,
What do you
what
think?
that's bringing back for me is it would give a whole new meaning to Jackie Gleason's character on The Honeymooners when he would say, to the moon, Alice, right?
I know, right?
And because back then, I'm sure there was somebody thought it could happen, but we've sent people there. Now we can send anything and everything there, apparently. So that's good. I really like that. I want to go back to something in the book for a minute, because I really love the way that you brought in this opportunity for Charlie, who had been bullied on by someone, another astronaut, to be able to do something no one else could do, and also to be able to be the person that if this didn't happen, they would never be able to get back home again. And so providing providing Charlie this opportunity to be a hero. And I think if kids who are victims of bullying, if they could understand that no matter what somebody said to them, that there's still a hero within them. And they never know when there's going to be an opportunity for them to become a hero to one person, to many people, even just to themselves. And I think that's such a powerful point, and something that really needs to be emphasized in, not just in the book, but with these programs, is that it's not just that you're protecting yourself from bullying, but there's so much more in you than just the need to protect yourself.
I love that's a great point. And what's coming up for me right now is, we all know bullying is a horrible thing, and there's so many other things that happen in life. They're terrible things, but when you can turn it around, look at what Haley Marguerite did. She took that episode, or those years of having that experience, she took that and she made something wonderful out of it. And so we're going to take a commercial break in a minute, but when we come back, we're going to talk about the power of creating something spectacular from maybe something not so wonderful happening to you. And we'll be back in a minute. We take a commercial.
Imagine rediscovering a past life.
Now imagine finding the person you shared it with.
And I just told all my friends, I'm like, you guys have to read this, because I can't put it down. And I have not even gotten to the half of the book yet.
We are Lynn Everard and Louise Gomez, and we are the authors of the book, The Reuniting of Two Past Lives and the Unveiling of the 12 Sacred Lessons.
We invite you to purchase the book and discover the magic.
Welcome back to the editor's desk. Once again, we are your hosts,
I'm Louise Gomez.
and I'm Lynn Everard.
Now back to the show.
Okay. And
Imagine rediscovering.
Welcome back to the editor's desk. Once again,
we're back. So I really want to discuss, I think it's a really good point I want to kind of hone in on, like something terrible that happened, but look at what you're doing now. Like from your incident, you're helping. You're going to the moon with this. So it's like, what type of characteristic does it take for a person like this to do what you did? Like, can you tell me, share, brag about yourself?
I would say a lot of different character traits, right? So I think you have to be very ambitious. You have to be resilient. You have to be unwavering. You have to, not even to the point like tenacious, because there's so many times when it's not just one person in class saying you're ugly or you're not smart enough from a boyfriend. It's just constantly hundreds of times throughout the years, even from family members, from a grandmother. And, even when you get the book published and Keller Williams wants you to be the speaker and your grandmother says, well, what do you have that's motivating to them? You're only 24 years old. Why would they even want you to speak? So, you constantly have to shut off the noise and just kind of have that tunnel vision.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because when people say things, they're really projecting their insecurities is what I believe is happening.
Right.
Because for someone to say, well, what could you possibly share at 24 years old? That's a projection, and so, for you to create what you've done, I mean, resilience to me, when you said resilience, I'm like, these are all traits that I'm sure in your books, in your packages, I'm sure in some way you're teaching those characteristics because that's what you're made of, right?
100%. We have about 5 to 8 different words we put down. It's like the character trait building words. So in these boxes, the kids learn these different character trait skills. So through the program. So
I was on to something,
yeah, she was
Lynn.
right, you knew.
I was on to something. I knew there had to be character traits that she acquired, that she had to now pass the torch. right? She's passing the torch.
100%.
So what do you have to say about that, Lynn? What do you think?
Well, it's really interesting because once we drill down into ourselves and then we drill down into what that bully must be dealing with or feeling and projecting,
Yeah.
then it's also possible to develop a deeper sense of compassion for ourselves and for the bully. And that can really change things around a lot because one of the things we don't have as much as we could in this world is compassion. And so I really love this program, Haley, because ultimately the kids are going to see that they have everything in them that is needed to be able to not become victims and to also look at that bully with a sense of compassion. And that'll take all the fun out of the bullying for the bully. So it may help them look at themselves differently as well.
Yeah, and so I'm curious now. This is really intriguing to me. I wish I would see that box. Do you also give, so you have these character traits and character words that you work on. Do you also give, like, what else do you give? Like coping or skills, or share with us other?
Sure. So in the box, it's maybe about this big by this high. It's like a cardboard box. And so in these Charlie anti-bullying boxes, you get one of the 4 books that I wrote. In addition to, say, the banner program. So they get all the materials, but it's for a set of 6 kids. They go for $50. You get the instructions, and then the last part of the step is they put it on the moon. So the kids can have a group photo on the moon, and then the next time Charlie is not nice to Evan, the teacher would say, oh, remember we did that anti-bullying program yesterday? You promised you wouldn't bully. What's this about? Oh, you're right. You're right.
So do you I'm curious now, do you strategically say we want 6 kids, but we need a bully in the group, like to make them aware, or you just randomly choose people, or is it design? I don't know. What would that be like?
Sure. No, we don't want to have a bully in the group. We do have a bully role play kit, so the
I
kids
figured that. You need
will
to
know
have,
how to deal in a certain
Sure.
situation. But no matter what program it is, 1 through 17 programs, it's for a 6 set of kids. So we even work with the Girl Scouts. So they'll do like a father-daughter event, mother-daughter. So it'll be
Nice.
like 3 groups, but they're all 6. So
Got
2
it.
pairs. Yeah.
Yeah, because you need someone to play that role.
Yeah.
So that you can like think on your feet, know how to react. Like these
Absolutely.
are skills that are practiced,
Yeah.
right? Not necessarily like, oh my God, I have to know it. No, they're practiced skills.
Right. Just like anything.
Just
yeah.
like anything.
Math and reading. Yeah.
Yeah, they are practiced skills.
You're right.
Uh-huh. What about you, Lynn? What do you think about this? Any questions?
Well, I love the program, and I really think that more schools would benefit, more kids would benefit
I know.
from putting this in place. And
Every school needs
how
an
young,
anti-bullying
yes,
program.
absolutely.
Every school needs
They
it.
absolutely do, because when you go into the schools and I talk to them, oh, does your school have a bullying problem? And if they say they don't have a problem, they're lying. Come
Yeah,
on.
sure.
Every school, there's
Sure.
someone not being nice to someone, a
Sure.
teacher bullying someone, and that's not okay. That's bullying.
Right. That's true. I didn't even think about that. There are
It's true.
teacher bullies.
Well,
Yeah.
how soon does this start? Like, what's the youngest age group that you have a program for?
Sure. So the youngest age group we have, Lynn, is elementary school and
Nice.
all the way up till high school, so 18 years old.
Sure.
Okay.
So it really benefits everyone. And it's great because then the teachers who might be the bully, can learn through these programs that, okay, what I was doing was kind of bullyish. I got to kind of back off.
Yes, it's an awareness that
It
we
really
get
is.
to, realize, and because sometimes it's something that you grew up, and maybe people just grew up in a family like that, and they just think this is normal, right? Or this is
100%.
how I am.
Yeah.
Until they have a little compassion and awareness and a level of, oh, okay, this is not necessarily, a trait that I should be continuing.
You're right.
Yeah.
Right. They have to break the cycle. And until the cycle is broken, it's just going to pass down from generation to generation. And I think the other thing is I wanted to go off of is that if someone bullies you, right, like you were saying, to kind of have compassion for them. But I think deep down, if someone says you're not pretty or you'll never be able to, pass the math exam, I
Yeah.
think deep down,
Yeah.
they really want you to do well. They want you to become an author. They want you to be the next
Sure.
Julia Child, because they actually, if you can succeed at something, it means there's hope for them.
Yes. That's so true. And, the compassion doesn't come until maybe years later,
Correct.
to be honest.
Yeah.
Because it's hard it's hard to tell a 5-year-old, an 8-year-old, oh, have compassion. That is something when you look back and
Yeah.
you say, oh, wow, now that I realize it, that child came from a dysfunctional family, or maybe there was a problem, or maybe, maybe they lost a parent. And I just learned this, actually. I want to say this. I did not know this. I literally just learned this like yesterday. Emotional outbursts, when you see people that do that, it's actually a form of, I heard a doctor saying it. It's like maybe even like a depression, and it's some type of a way that they're just expressing it. So it could be
Sure.
that they have a deep
Like their coping mechanism.
coping.
Yeah. Sure.
It's a deep coping mechanism, and that's how they're dealing with it.
True. I agree with
know,
you. That's
yeah.
kind of like where they're currently at. Like maybe, not very they're just maybe being reactive because maybe they've never went through it. And so until you've gone through it, you don't really know how to emotionally deal in that situation.
That's right. And so I would imagine that in her program she would highlight to the teachers all these different, scenarios of possible things. And a quick scenario I wanted to mention, social media. Like young kids are on social media. I can't imagine like the bullying that could go on in social media because Snapchat is gone in 10 seconds, right? So it's like nobody
It's
knows.
scary. It's a scary world out there.
Right?
And I see a lot of my friends have kids, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I don't have kids yet, but it's scary. Like you have to monitor everything. I have a friend who has 4 kids, and my gosh, my friend is such a good parent because
course.
every time their children will send a text, they'll get a copy of it. And so they know exactly what's going on, and you have to, because you don't want your child doing something that you don't know.
That's right. Yeah, parents now more than ever have to be on top of that.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Lynn?
One of the things that I see in this is a parallel. I'm not going to say it's necessarily cause and effect, but when we talk about bullying with kids, we're also talking about verbal abuse as adults.
Right.
And I feel like if more kids understood not just the anti-bullying, but to really understand who they are and the power of knowing who they are, that we could dramatically cut down on the amount of verbal abuse that happens to people later in life.
That's true.
That's a really good point because it could be that child is being abused at home. And this could be a cry out for help and they don't even realize it.
It's true. 100%. And I went to so many different schools, different areas, different demographics, and across the board, they'll say, in this community, it's more prevalent that there's more verbal abuse at home. And it's just like, oh my gosh, that's so shocking. And it's heartbreaking that your own, parent will, talk to you and say, you're no good,
It's
or
horrible.
you're dumb, or or you're not going to be able to be successful, or that's too hard for you. And then the child, will, deep down feel that way.
And, maybe it can be an awareness for a child to say, oh, I'm being bullied at home.
Right.
So it could be an opportunity for them to become aware that that's what's going on,
That's a good angle too. Yeah.
Yeah,
You're right.
for sure. So we have about 3 minutes left. We always like to kind of, before we end, we like to kind of, chime in, let us know what's next for you, or how can people find you, or what do you have up and coming, so you can share with everybody.
Sure. So you can find me and all my books at charlietakesанadventure.com. So once again, that is www.charlietakesanadventure.com. So on there, you can find all 4 of the Charlie Takes Adventure books. And then you scroll more down the page, you'll see all of the 17 anti-bullying programs. If you are feeling like you want to go to the moon, you want to put your photo on the moon, you can go to www.vsclunaralliance.com and you can put your photo on the moon. If you want to get your book published, you can go to HaleyMarguerite.com. And as far as anything new and exciting going on, around the end of the year, maybe beginning of next year, Charlie Takes Adventure to Mars will launch. So that's very exciting.
Nice.
And we have 2 of my authors or books are coming out. So I'm very, very excited. Actually tomorrow, we're going to the printer to pick them up.
That's
so I'm excited. Yeah.
Very exciting. Well, we want to thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And sharing your message with the world.
Thank
it's
you
an
so
important
much.
message. So we
Thank
want to
you.
thank you. Any last words, Lynn, before we close out? We have
No,
1
I
minute
just
left.
I want to thank Haley for everything that she's doing. I think this is important. And like I said, I think its impact goes beyond kids because those kids become adults.
Absolutely. Thank you so
100%.
much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning into the Editor's Desk. My name is Louise Gomez. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week. Take care.
Even if you have never written a book, you are still an author. In fact, we all are. In every moment, each of us is writing our own unique story that we call our lives. Because many of us are, As in the lyrics of the Dan Hill song, Sometimes When We Touch, writers still trapped within our truth. If this is you, why not start writing your thoughts in a journal? It will help you get your truth on paper and could just be the start of your own book. And don't forget to join us here every week for the next edition of The Editor's Desk.